Huzzah! Here I am, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? It's great to be back. Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. It is the 20th of September 2025. In a world gone mad, we remain stoically here to bring you the news. Shall I upload that crime watch clip? Because I think that's worth saving, that one. Let me just find it. Definitely going to use that in future. Because basically it's got to the point where there's that much wanton criminality thanks to the, I almost said efforts of our government, but they're doing it on purpose, aren't they? They're malevolent and spiteful. They're doing it on purpose. They hate you and your family and your wives and your children and your culture and your heritage and everything about you. So they're filling the nation with sex pest, highly explosive individuals from the Middle East, the detritus of society from all four continents, basically. It's on purpose. So no, it wasn't the efforts of the government. It was the purposeful, malevolent spite of the government. But I saved it because it's quite good, in it. It's catchy. I think I'll start playing it before all my streams because it's obviously apt, isn't it? Let's put it on. Good, that, innit? It's very apt. Very apt for the collection of deviant sex pests and suicide bombers we always end up talking about on these streams these days. I will try and avoid just making it about crime and criminality this week because Nick's coming on. He's a much more cerebral individual than I am. I find it peculiar, I have to say, though, how there doesn't seem to be as much of an appetite for comical news on YouTube. All the really big news channels, certainly all the ones I watch across the pond, like Liberal Hive Mind and all that, they're not like good humoured. I find them a little bit dour. We need more Andrew Lawrences in the world. Gavin McInnes was apparently welcomed back onto Twitter by Elon Musk, which is a good sign. But again, Gavin McInnes, right, I like his politics and I agree with 80% of what he has to say, but he definitely thinks he's much funnier than he actually is. And I remember seeing him when he agreed to do a stream with what's his face, the old Scottish pal, Knee Chance, and he thought he was hilarious and he wasn't. I think Knee Chance is funnier than Gavin McInnes in my opinion, although he does deserve credit for making militant feminists cry on Fox News. One of the funniest things I've ever seen with him in was that one where he's across from the bird who says, "I'm trying to make you happy." And she's like, "Oh, you think I want to go out with you?" And he's like, No, go out with a hunk. Go out with a hunk. I'm not trying to make you miserable. I'm trying to make you happy. He's like, "Imagine coming home. The kids are there. Mommy's home." And she's like, like totally appalled at the idea. But again, he's been proved right, hasn't he? Because look how miserable women are now. Honestly, the statistics are staggering. I covered them in last week's stream. If you weren't here, they're unbelievable. They're unbelievable. It's something like 50% of women under 30 and like 70% of liberal women under 30 are either seeing a psychiatrist or heavily medicated. So that's how bad things have got. So I like to think people have been proved right, haven't they? We've definitely been proved right. Nothing has come of the last 20 years, this neoliberal experiment, that's good or useful. Essentially, you should feel terribly guilty. I mean, yeah, sawing a kid's cock off, you should probably feel guilty about that. But that's self-evident, isn't it? I don't need to make the argument there. And you'll recall, when I first started talking about this about 5 years ago, I said one of the main reasons I started a YouTube channel was because I wanted it on record in a public place in 10 years' time that right from the very, very beginning, I was openly against lopping little boys' nads off because a Guardian reader tells you it's a good idea. I mean, you wouldn't think something so self-evidently, manifestly, brazenly, blatantly obvious as not mutilating a small child's conkers would be a controversial statement, but I wanted it on record because I knew if the drones that rule the world had clamped down with an iron fist, we might not be able to talk about any of this, might we? Yeah. Stu's been blocked from doing a super chat. All I was saying was Sad Sack Khan looks like a pigeon with AIDS. Fair enough. If you look like you've got AIDS before you've got it, where do you go from there, Sad Sack? Fortunately, there's not enough people in, so I did notice it regardless of the super chat. There you go. Rick's a new member. Well done, Rick. You are now important to me like Stu. So you have excellent taste in men. Balding, middle-aged, increasingly tubby men who talk total bollocks on the internet. Well done. Joe's give us a super sticker as well. Thank you, Joe, as always. She's a long-term viewer, Joe. She's also got good taste in men. Loads of good stuff to talk about this week. I think the economy is a good one for Nick because I've been telling you a lot for years you're knackered. Like, you're definitely knackered. But it's proper looking bad. There was some stuff that I read a couple of weeks back on The Telegraph, and I was genuinely amazed at how bad the economy is in the UK. It's way worse than people seem to think. A lot of you people are like, it'll be all right. It's like, if you look at the raw numbers between the USA and the UK, it's staggering. Like, the economy in the UK is knackered. In fact, I'll start reading you that because this is a good piece. It's worth doing. I was thinking of doing a video about it, but it's not that funny. I like to keep the lighter, funnier stuff for the pre-made videos. You know, like kiddie fiddling, suicide bombers. You know, the funny stuff, the good-natured, jovial stuff. You know, that keep us all chipper. So I didn't cover it, but I'm gonna start with this, and when Nick turns up, we can get into it. Because let me find this story. Hang on. Here we are. Sure, it's this one. So this is actually unbelievable how bad it is in the UK. Because let me tell you, it's probably not good business for a bloke who's hoping to stop working full time for Papa Elon because he lashes me. He makes me taste the lash every week with his 50+ hour working weeks. Probably not good business for a man to talk about how much more money he's got than his sibling or his friend. But I don't care because I wear my heart on my sleeve, and that's just the way of it. But let me tell you, moving out here and working is just infinitely better for your bank balance. Like, my real-time tax is a lot lower than it was in the UK. You just keep more of your money and you get paid more. When I was working full-time for Games Workshop in the UK, in a not a lowly position, I was one of their quality guys, so I wasn't doing the shop floor work. And the bog standard salary was 30 grand a year, which is shite, innit? It's shite, that. And when I got a bonus, so this is just an example of how bad it is in the UK. I was making a paltry 30 grand a year, right? And because they smashed all of the projections, this is like 5 or 6 years ago when the hobby was exploding, basically. So they smashed all the sales projections. So we all got a bonus. Bear in mind, I'm only making 30 grand a year. I got a £5,000 bonus. All the shareholders got money off them. And of the 5 grand, I got less than half in my bank account. When they added it to my, I was convinced they'd done the maths wrong. I was like, hang on, I was a bloke earning 30k a year, got a 5 grand bonus, and he's only got £2,323 of it. But I checked it, and sure enough, that was the tax. With tax and national insurance, I got less than half of it. And I was thinking, it'd be one thing if you were making 200 grand a year and you get less than half of your bonus. But I was a bloke making a paltry 30 G's, only keeping 48% of his bonus. Like, it makes no sense to me. They absolutely tax the balls off you in the UK. Here, me and my missus, last year, I think between us, and she hasn't got an amazing job, just puts the hours in. She does a lot more than 40 hours a week. Probably, Americans work harder. Probably does 50, 60, I don't know. She does a lot of hours. And I think last year, both of us put together, we made about 200 grand, maybe a bit short of that. And then when we did our taxes, probably paid about, I don't know, 23% or something. You just keep way more of your money, like way more. The idea that they would take 52% of your money on 30 or 35 grand a year is staggering. Like, they just rob you. They just rob you blind. Yeah, there you go. Old back pay 9 grand, took home less than 6. So they just thieve off you. Anyway, we'll talk about this story because the numbers are staggering. Look at this. This is a good piece. I really want to drive it home how bad it's going to get in the UK. Doing you guys a solid. Probably not doing myself a solid. I'm not going to talk you into joining the channel if you're absolutely on the bones of your ass. But I don't care. It needs to be said. And you all should be doing what I told you, which is stockpiling your money, only drinking Ruddle's Best, getting used to a Spartan lifestyle, drinking tap water, Tapaline, Council Pop. Council Pop, it's a staple in Middlesbrough, and salted porridge, and basically living like a scruffy twat. You need to get used to it, because when it all goes tits up, you're not going to have a good time. I guarantee you that. God's best friend said, check your last post in Galactic Village Idiot. Okay, yeah, I haven't checked that for a while, but I will. I'll be sure to have another look. And John Platt gifted some other lucky devil another Bootneck membership, so well done, John Platt, sensible fellow. Let's have a quick read of this. Honestly, it'll stagger you. This is how bad it's going to get. And Trumpy's done us a massive solid here. He's done us a massive solid. He's looking out for us because he's got a soft spot for us. He hates the current government, but he knows they change and he's trying to do us a favour. If we had a hostile US president like Joe Biden, an angry, bitter and twisted plastic paddy, a shit-for-brains, goggle-eyed bog trotter, he'd be stitching us up even worse. So thank God the Orange Oracle's done us a solid. But this is how bad it's got in the UK. Some of these numbers are unbelievable. Oh, hang on. I just heard a dick. I nearly said a dick in my ear. A blip in my ear. There we go. I haven't got a dick in my ear. It's Nick Buckley. How are you doing, Nick?
I am good. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. You look very educated with them NHS specs on, Nicholas.
Yeah, taking them off now. Thank you. I didn't realise I was going straight live on air.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's how I roll, baby. Let's do this for a bit. Oh, you know what? I put a special clip on. The chat will like this because I've got a lot of good clips. I don't know if you've tuned into many of my live streams, but I use a lot of these clips. It's kind of like a game we play where if I accidentally use the full name of one of our politicians rather than a juvenile insult, because this is quite a juvenile channel, I have to play it like a clip's like a forfeit. So, for example, if I say Gordon Brown...
Now, evidently, my cycloptic colleague informs me that that can't be done.
There you go. Stuff like that happens. So it's like a game we play. And I made one for you because I watched this film a couple of years ago and it was unintentionally hilarious. If you're a lot of good quips in a strong African accent. So I've got this one. If you make a poor argument and I have to strongly disagree with
But you did not persuade me, Nicholas. You did not persuade me.
Well,
good that, innit?
Yeah, I mean, especially with it being Idi Amin.
Yeah, it's a classic, that film. There's a bit at the start where he goes, I understand in your country there are many red-headed women. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's right. And he goes, you find them sexually attractive? And he's like, I suppose so. And he goes, to us they are truly disgusting. Which is amazing. Anyway, we've already got nearly 800 people in here, so there's a good audience on for you. If you don't subscribe to Nick Buckley, I'm sure most of you do at this point, but go and check his channel out. You can throw a link in the comment as well, Nick, if you want, and we'll get right to it. So the first thing, unless you want to particularly discuss any stories of the week that have, what would you say, ground your gears, I was going to do a really good Telegraph piece about just how bad the economy is going to get, because I'm genuinely concerned about you poor bastards. You'll be living off spam fritters and noodle doodles for the next 10 years. So I'm trying to encourage some fiscal responsibility amongst my viewers. Unless you want to jump into anything in particular, we'll read this because it's a good piece.
Yeah, no, let's get into that.
get into that. All right, back to this. How do I throw that back up? I'm getting better. I'm much better at throwing clips up than I am in doing serious commentary. Here we go. Right, so this is a well-researched piece from The Telegraph, which is as good a source as you'll get these days. Alistair Heath. Labour's staggering incompetence and embarrassment to Britain. And this is the point I was making. Trump has done us a favour here. Like, we knew he was going to do us a massive solid because his mum was a jock. And they're obviously looking out for us. I think he's well aware that the current government is overtly hostile to Donald Trump and his administration. But he knows that they do change quickly in politics. So I think regardless of any of that, he's done us a solid, hasn't he? And he's threw us some trade our way. But the real crux of the story isn't... I mean, this is interesting stuff, saying how essentially he's doing us a massive favour. But look at these numbers. This is how bad it's got, right? It says... let's see if I can zoom in a little bit just for people that are watching on phones. Britain was in a terrible state during Trump's first state visit in June 2019. Theresa May was in office and the Brexit wars were raging. America's improved. Economics is key. Real UK GDP per person has risen by 0.7% since June 2019. So it's like nearly 6 years. We've just had total stagnation. 0.7% is stagnation. They'll say whatever they can to be like, oh, we've avoided a recession. And this is by importing millions and millions of people. So they use imports to try and artificially drag your GDP up. But this is with 5 million imported people, 0.7%. And it says, by contrast, US GDP jumped 9.2% in the same period of time. So that's how bad it's going to get. Like, we're starting to gently recover in the States. And we're all feeling it, I think. The UK is just ruined. He says, America, despite all of its pathologies, remains a land of opportunity. It's not true of Britain. Our economy's turned into a zero-sum game. In the aggregate, winners can only gain if others lose. Most feel poorer and are angry. Resources generated per person have stagnated and taxes have shot up, leaving less disposable income. Combined with extreme cultural and demographic change, the mismanagement of public services and a condescending attitude from elites, it is no wonder that we are witnessing an explosion in social strife and populisms of left and right. So, first question, Nick, do you feel poorer and angrier?
Everybody I know feels poorer, and they absolutely feel angrier. We've been feeling poorer for years and years. The anger has only began to raise its ugly head, I'd say, this last year, but definitely the last 6 months. Everybody I meet is angry, and is angry at the government, angry at the establishment, angry at the elite. They don't know who they're angry at. They just know they're angry, and someone is responsible for the mess we're in, and they're looking for someone to blame. And of course, it's the government, it's the establishment, it's the elite.
It's a festival of rage. There's so many people to be angry at, you can't decide who to pick on. It's like, when Oprah's giving out the free stuff, you're getting a book and you're getting a book. You're like, I'm angry at you and you and you. It's like, who can you blame? It's the MPs, it's the House of Lords, it's the civil servants, it's the lying, thieving chancellors that have been bleeding us dry for the last 10 years. People always say, oh, you shouldn't get angry, you can't blame the immigrants. I'm like, no, I've got plenty of rage to pass around, thanks. I think I can get angry at both. It's not mutually exclusive. I can be enraged at the MPs and the politicians and the civil servants and the dirty, scruffy, thieving chancellors that we're importing en masse. So I'm not Jesus. Don't tell me I have to turn the other cheek. I like being pissed off, and I've got rage to spare. So I'm glad to hear that everybody's in the same boat.
Oh, they are. And I don't blame the immigrants. I don't blame people to wanting to come to the best country in the world that's ever existed. I can't blame people for wanting to do that. I blame the people who allowed them to come in the first place. Now, something you read then triggered something in my mind, which is this. Why are we in the UK in such a mess? And it's because we're addicted. We're addicted to cheap foreign labour, and it is an addiction. And if you look at a crackhead, a crackhead is slowly dying. Their life's dysfunctional. But for that crackhead to cope for the next day and get through the next day, what do they need? They need more crack. And that's our economy. Our economy has been twisted over 50, 60 years to depend on cheap foreign labor. And when it's in trouble, it goes back to what it always needs, which is more cheap foreign labor. And just like the crackhead, what we're addicted to is killing the country. And we keep looking at the short term. And the short term means we need more cheap foreign labor in the short term to get over this hump. But it's killing us. It's destroying the country, just like the crackhead.
Yeah. Speaking as a former resident of Middlesbrough and having to watch crackheads shitting on the double deckers, I definitely agree that they're killing us. It's the weird thing about that is, though, this is another thing. And again, I'm going to read some more of this because it's actually related to what you've just said. The economic illiteracy is by the ruling class, because the normal people, like I always tell you, the Oxbridge educated types, the book smart, but they've got zero common sense. They don't live in the real world. If you ask any plumber or bricklayer or bus driver, do you think immigrants are improving the economic function of the United Kingdom? They would say, definitely not. Definitely not. And they'd be right. The Oxbridge twats haven't got a clue what they're talking about. And you know this because when you're a normal person and you go out walking your dog, and every council house you look at's rammed to the rafters with Malis and Moroccans and Algerians and Albanians, and none of them are doing any work, and the ones that are doing the work are doing under the table work. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or a mathematician to know that it's costing us money. And we've said this for decades, and they've denied it the whole time. They've been saying importing all these people's driving our GDP up. It's not driving our GDP up, because for every one high earner, let's say you get one high earner who's making 150 grand a year. If you look at all the things that we take out, and all, you know, we're all a net drain. If we're below about 30 grand a year, you're a net drain on resources, because you use services. But if you get one high earner who's making 150 G's a year, he's probably sticking about 60 grand a year in the coffers net. Well, what about the 20? Because for every one high earner, immigrants, you're going to have 20 that are just a drain on resources. So he can't pay for 20, he can probably pay for 2. So these council houses are full of people from foreign shores who are a drain on our resources. And normal working class people have been telling these morons this for decades, but they wouldn't have it. They've just been lying constantly. Oh, they definitely help our GDP. They don't. They don't help our GDP. When I was working in Nottingham, I lived in a flat above a guy who was African, didn't work a day when I was there. I was there a year, never seen him go to work once. He was just sat on his fat ass smoking doobies all day. How is that guy helping the economy? How? Like, it's preposterous.
The latest figures I've seen, it's about 85% of immigrants do not pay enough in the system for what they're taking out of the system. So only something like 15% of immigrants into the UK actually pay their way. Only 15%. And out of that 15%, only some of them pay more than they take out of the system. So if immigration was this panacea we've been told about for decades, we're importing more into the UK now than we've ever done before. And our country is becoming poorer, weaker, more pathetic, more broken, more bankrupt, where nothing works. But we're importing more and more immigrants. So if immigrants fix the country and fix GDP and fix the economy, we should be going gangbusters, but we're not. It's going in the wrong direction, because the vast majority of immigrants only take out of the economy. They don't give in.
Yeah. And see, I didn't know that exact statistic you've just told me. I just knew from walking up Linthorpe Road in Middlesbrough last year and seeing that 9 out of 10 people were foreigners. And I was going, hang on, I'm on holiday. It's midday on a Tuesday. Why aren't any of these people working? So it's about right? You said 85%. I would have just guessed, swagging it, that 8 out of 10 are a drain on resources. and the 2 in 10 doesn't pay for the 8 out of 10. So logic dictates they're costing us billions in pounds every year, and everybody who's not a moron can see it as plain as day.
Yeah. Another stat that came out a few months ago from what's he called? The MP. I forgot his name at the moment. But anyway, he got these stats, which was basically this. The average low-skilled immigrant in the UK, by the time they reach, I think it's 80, they cost the UK economy £500,000.
Was that Rupert Law?
Rupert Lowe, yeah. So
I did read that.
If we didn't import these people, we would be £500,000 better off. I mean, if they've got a wife and 4 kids, that's £3 million better off. It's killing us. And a minute ago, this popped in my head. You just said then that the average person, the average bricklayer, the average person understands these things. Let me tell you what a very clever person said to me 3 decades ago. He worked in the city in London. He was a trader. He was a very wealthy man. And he said to me, I worked behind a bar at the time. I was in my late teens. And he said to me, Nick, you're going to meet really educated, clever people in your life. They're going to be able to tell you the internal diameter of a can of baked beans, but they won't be able to open them.
Yeah, it's funny because it's true, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I've been. My missus finds it quite funny. She said she visibly saw when she went to the Northeast that there was almost a scornful attitude towards educated people. She said, like, it is weird. Like when you tell them you're at university, and I went to UCSB in California. She said they kind of like scoff and go, "Oh, you don't need to go there." And I said to her, I do agree that it's kind of wrong in a way because you do want to promote an education. But I said to her, you must understand that comes from the fact that we live in a class society and we have scorn for these people because all the people that have ruined everything for the last 30 years have been highly educated people who all go to the same schools, Eton and Oxford and Cambridge. I was like, so can you blame a window cleaner or a bus driver or a brickie for being scornful? When these people have all these expensive educations, but the brickie appears to have a better grasp of economics than the Oxbridge elite, who honestly thinks that 28 Mongolians living in a council house in Manchester's generating wealth for us. It's so you can't blame people, can you? Regarding the numbers here, this is where it gets worse. Look, this is what I was telling these guys before you came on about how the numbers are stark. And I was saying, me and my wife just have like normal jobs, but we make twice what we make in the UK and we pay about a quarter of the tax. It says only 4.4% of the UK's income taxpayers earned 100 grand, 4.4%. And the top 10th of households were the only decile that enjoyed on average a 6-figure pre-tax income. In the United States, nearly 25% of people make 150k or more. So that is a staggering statistic, and this is what I was telling everyone, why you are getting robbed over there and you're going to feel the pinch. Like nobody's got any money in the UK. I know a lot of middle class people, being a sort of working class town, the borough, I know a lot of people who started off in the steel industry and you know, got into other things. I know a few like electricians, guys who work for the National Grid and that, who are engineers now, like middle class jobs, but they haven't got that much money because they're making like 50 or 60 grand a year, which isn't that much money in this day and age with inflation being out of control since the Rona. And then the government's always taking half of it. Like they literally take half your money in the UK. If you throw in your national insurance, which is what, 12.5% on top of 40, like you keep about half your money in the UK, which is preposterous. In the United States, if you make 200 grand a year, you end up paying about 30% on it. It's nowhere near as bad. So it's shocking that. So there you go, 40% to 25%. And they said, it's tricky to compare figures, but the big picture's clear. The top half of Americans are substantially better off than the top half of Brits, especially after tax. Top quartile Americans live in mansions with aircon and pools and 3-car garages. And in England, if you're a top quartile, how are you living? It seems like you're living no better off than a bloke in a council estate. An illegal immigrant in a council estate.
But we've done this to ourselves. Since the Second World War, we've slowly turned into a semi-socialist country. We really are a socialist country. So after the Second World War, we looked at some poverty. We went like, we need to fix this poverty. We're going to start taxing people more. So we fixed that poverty with taxes. But because we started taxing people more, we made more people poor. And then we went, oh, there's more people here. We need to tax people more so we can help these people. So we taxed more and helped those people. And suddenly those extra taxes made more people poor. And we're caught in this vicious cycle all the time of having to tax people more to help the poor, which creates more people. So what do? We have to tax people even more. And this country now is extremely overtaxed. Nothing works. And every time we try to fix a problem with more taxes, we don't fix the problem. It's a sticking plaster. We make everybody else poorer. We make people now, I mean, our country now, we don't give much money to charity anymore. We're in America. America gives a lot of money to charity because they know it's their money and it's up to them what causes they support. We've got to a stage in the UK where it's not our problem. Poverty is not our problem because I give most of my money to tax. It's down to the government to fix those problems.
I know. I hate it. When I was working in the UK and they were taxing the balls off me and I just got my poultry bonus and they took half of it. I remember I've told this story before. You might not have heard it, but I went into Morrison's and I bought this like jar of pasta sauce. I put it on the thing and this bird's like, oh, you know, a pound off every jar and that goes to water for Africa. I said, I'm putting it back. She was like, what? I went, yeah, fuck them. I went and got a different jar. Yeah. Brought it over. She was like, I can't believe you've done that. I said, you know why? Because by default, they're stealing half my money and 25% of it's going to Africa anyway. The tiny amount of change I get to keep, I'm not giving them as well. I said, they can suck my left knacker. I'm giving Africa about eight grand a year via the medium of the government robbing me of it. So I'm certainly not giving them the change in my pocket. And that's exactly, it's sort of weird how on the ball you are, Nick, because it's like I showed you this story before you come on. All the stuff you're telling me, if you read through this, it's mentioned the whole thing about swelling the state with this sort of welfare thing is right there. It says the public sector has reached 5.2 million full-time workers, up from 4.3 million in the 90s. The NHS is nearly 2 million people full-time. We've embraced socialism, welfarism, egalitarianism, and redistribution. And that's what I'm saying. I've always said this, and I've been proved right. When I first moved to the States about 10 years ago, I said to them, if you're broke-ass poor or an illegal immigrant, you're better off in Europe. But if you actually work hard, you're better off in America. And it's painfully obvious to me now. It's only got more painfully obvious compared to 10 years ago. All they care about, the socialists, is the sick, lame and lazy and the illegal and the criminal and the immigrant. Because if you rock up with nought and you haven't got 2 pennies to scratch your ass with, they'll give you a free house, free clothes, free food. But if you're just a brickie or a bus driver, they'll tax the balls off you to feed these people who've never worked a day in their life. And that's it, exactly what we've done. This, like I said, it's a good piece. Socialism, they've called it all kinds of different things, but essentially it's socialism, it's parasitism, it's stealing off hard-working British workers to give to people who cannot be asked to lift a finger. And it's one thing doing it to British chavs. They merely are despised by me. The old Mick Philpott. Potsy should be on my... When he gets out, I'll put him on the channel because I've used his name so many times. But people like him I despise, but at least we have to deal with our own scum. What I cannot understand for the life of me is why we import them. Every single person who's come in illegally should be instantly deported. And my missus said she's seen a poll yesterday that said 61% of people in the general public support it. 61% of people said yesterday every single illegal immigrant should be deported, and 17 said no. So what do you make of that? If the numbers are so clear, why aren't they doing it? What's your theory on that?
Right, 2 things there. Let's jump back to socialism, and then I'll get back to mass deportation. So socialism, for your viewers who may not know who I am, I've spent over 20 years working in the poorest neighbourhoods in Greater Manchester. I've sat on the streets with homeless people. I've got homeless people into accommodation. I've worked with young people, stopped them getting involved in crime, getting them jobs, getting them a life. I am not a far right capitalist who's all about money, who's all about survival of the fittest. I'm compassionate. I care. I care about my fellow citizens. I've dedicated my life improving my neighborhoods, my community, my city, my country. That's why I got an MBE. So I'm not I'm not one of these. It's all about individuals. I don't want to pay taxes. I want to pay tax. Now, my learning out of 20, 30 years of this work is this: the more we do for people, the less they do for themselves. We've turned the British people into a nation of beggars. They beg off the state. They're beggars. They're just like the people we see on street corners with a paper cup on a Friday night, hoping some drunk impressing his girlfriend will put a couple of quid in that paper cup. That's what our elite, our governments over many decades are turning the British people into. We once ruled and conquered the world, and now we're turning into beggars off the state. And not only is that wrong, but let me tell you about the people they're doing this to. It kills them. It takes away their aspirations, their self-worth, their self-respect. It slowly kills them. I've seen these people die. I've seen these people die on streets in the cold. I've seen these people kill themselves with drug overdoses because their lives aren't worth living. And all we can offer them is more shit, more money, more food, more. We'll give you what do you want? We'll give you. We're never going to give you self-respect. We're never going to give you the feeling of being able to earn a living and be a man and be an Englishman and take care of yourself and take care of you. We're not going to give you that. We're going to give you what it's like to be a beggar, to be a slave. That's what we're doing to the British working class and the poor in our country. And I've said for decades now, no more. I don't want those live. I want a safety net. I want a welfare system. But the welfare system has to be a hand up. All of us can fall on hard times. All of us could get cancer, get run over. Our parents die. Our kid gets killed. We lose our job. And suddenly we go bang, bang, bang. We hit rock bottom. It can happen to anybody. And I want a state that goes, wow, you've fallen low here. We're going to help you gain that life you want. And we're going to give you a hand up. Our country goes, you're pathetic. You're just a beggar now. We're just going to give you stuff now because you're a beggar, and we never expect anything from you from now on. And this is how we treat people now in the UK, and it gets me so angry because we never used to be like this. So, if you want to understand what poverty used to be like in the UK, read George Orwell's A Road to Wigan Pier. Nobody wants to go back to that times. Nobody wants that. So stop telling us you just want poverty. No, I don't. I've dedicated my life to improve my country. I don't want to go back to that. But the alternative to that isn't a socialist welfare state that turns you into a beggar. So that's my answer to the socialist thing. Anything you want to say on that before I move to mass deportations?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think most people on my channel know who you are by now. Nick's obviously far more reasonable and civilized than I am. I think that's obvious, but we do ultimately align on most of this thing. I think I'm just a little bit more right-wing than you. I do totally agree with you about that, because this is what I've said, like, the real discord we have between ourselves and the left is that they think we're bad people, whereas I keep making this point. We're compassionate people. For all the jokes I make, I am empathic. I'm not a sociopath. Sadly, I wish I was, but I'm not. And I feel for people, we simply have a different view as to what actually helps. And I can give you a Thatcher quote about what you just said, which was, you should always give people money to do something, but you should never give them money to do nothing. And that is a class quote, because I totally agree with you. I do. I'm a little bit more tight-fisted with the purse strings than you are. But I totally agree. Like, if someone is out of work, it makes sense and it's logical to pay them to do something, send them on a course, pay for them to do some sort of vocational training that'll get them back on the horse, because in the long term, it'll help us all out. It'll help them out with the self-esteem and the mental health if they go to work every day. And it will eventually help the state out. Like, I agree with that because it makes sense on from a pure, like, economic standpoint. The issue is, I think we are too liberal with regards to not tying it to what you've put in, because the American system works because it discourages all of this nonsense, these lifetime parasites. In the United States, you have a finite cap on how much you can get welfare. Like, they physically look at your income tax receipts and they'll go, okay, we'll give you unemployment for a maximum of 2 years, for example. Like, to me, it's quite a happy medium, because if you can't find a job in 2 years, you are wearing Velcro shoes on your way to your job interviews. Like, I think it's a happy medium. I don't think it should be like in England, where you can literally get decades on welfare unless you've got a genuinely debilitating disability. The numbers on disability in the UK, again, you're a little bit left of me, but they are preposterous. Like, if you believe 1 in 5 people in the UK is disabled, you're on another planet. You're on another planet. Like, the whole country would be full of Stephen Hawking lookalikes every street you walk down if 1 in 5 people or 1 in 4 people was disabled. So you're definitely right on that. There was another story linked to this that I was going to share afterwards. I'll throw up, because we're more or less done with this, regarding the economy being totally knackered and no dynamicism at all. And it's that one, is that there's now more than 200,000 people being signed off work for life. And that's what I'm talking about. I don't think we should be doing these lifetime deals.
Well, do you know why? Do you know why they do that?
Why?
It's because it keeps the unemployment number down. So we only ever report on the unemployment number. These 200,000 young people now are not unemployed. They're now disabled. So they go on a different list that's never reported. So it keeps unemployment figures low, which is good PR for the government. Thatcher started this when all the miners lost their jobs and stuff like this. So then they created income support, which was an unemployment benefit. It kept people off the unemployment benefit, so the numbers always look lower. This is what governments over decades and decades have been doing. They don't care about us individually. This isn't them caring about these 200,000 young people. I care about every single one of them, but this is the worst thing that could happen to them. But it's good for the government's PR. And they're just using us as numbers. They're using us as ways of getting votes and keeping in power. And they're quite happy putting these 200,000 people on a scrap heap for life and ruining their lives because it's convenient for the government. And my point of view is, no, we need to fight for these young people. We need to make sure they get tough love. We need to make sure they get a kick up the arse. We need to make sure they get a job, any job. Because the second you get any job, you're in a better position to get a better job. But you don't get a better job when you've got no job. And we need to treat these people as if they were our family. And the best thing about having a family is they always want the best for you. And they're telling you advice and telling you what to do because they love you and they want the best for you. The government is always doing what's best for the government, never what's good for you as an individual.
That's a great explanation. The cynical bastards, aren't they? Cynical bastards. Because, yeah, if you're getting free money, humans, because we're an evolved chimp, right? We're an ape. I've told you, I always approach things through the evolutionary biology thing, because I loved Richard Dawkins. I read all his books when I was a chippy atheist in my 20s. And it does explain everything. This is why ice cream tastes nice and carrots don't. This is why you hate getting on the treadmill, but you like sitting on the couch. It's because of our evolutionary beginnings. It's almost like you have to force yourself to do the opposite of what you want to do if you want to be happy and healthy. It's an unfortunate byproduct of us having a long evolution where resources were sparse. So that's why, you know, if lettuce tasted amazing and running around was enjoyable, you'd starve to death in about 2 days. So this is why we're the way we are. And this is why you have to make them work. Because, yeah, these lads, if they've just got signed off work for life and they're comfortable and they're just getting 200 quid a week to do nought, they will never, ever, ever, ever work. And socialists think they're doing them a favour. It's tough love, isn't it? It's what I'm saying. You're trying to help them. Killing them with kindness is what these thick shit-for-brain socialists do. Yeah. And one thing you made me think of was about the homeless. I was in Santa Barbara with my missus and I was walking up through a car park. This bloke said to me, One thing I will say, and this is why I'm much more cynical and bad-tempered than you, living in the States makes you much more anti-homeless. When I lived in England, I used to be good at the homeless. Because when I was a young lad in Borough, there was hardly any. And you used to know them all. There'd be like two homeless blokes in the town and we all knew, like Dave and John. And you'd see them, you go, all right, Dave, how you doing? There's a cup of tea, mate. Come to LA and there's 50,000 crusty, shit-covered tramps who will cost you every time you walk down the street. So you quickly go from liking the homeless to absolutely hating them. And I am overtly hostile towards them now. And some of them proper give you a lip. When I was in Santa Barbara, I was walking along with missus and some bloke went, hey, you got any change? And I went, no. And he goes to me, must be nice to eat. Like proper having a go at me. And I said, yeah, but it's shit going to work, knobhead. Anyway, so
I remember I was in Chicago a couple of decades ago and I saw the best homeless begging sign ever. And there was this guy sat on a street corner one evening. I was going from a bar to bar in Chicago. And he had this cardboard sign saying, please help, I'm sobering up.
Please. So, yeah, don't give him any cans. That's definitely not on the cards there. We'll do the migration thing now before I piss off because I've only got another 20 minutes or thereabouts. I've got some super chats as well. Let's have a quick look at this. Trevor said Queer Starmer, like, oh no, we said his name. That counts, doesn't it? Yeah, quick, let's use my Starmer.
Gay!
Yeah, that's Keir Starmer's. He's definitely in the closet, that fella. 100%. What else have we got? Closer than ever to despair. Appreciate your craft. Don't despair. This is what I tell everyone. Don't despair. Keep laughing, and when it all kicks off, which if it inevitably will, it'll be amazing. It's worth waiting for the party that's going to follow when a few hundred of these scumbags are in prison, and I'm acting as the state executioner with an erection the entire time. Because there will be a reckoning. There will be a reckoning eventually. When we win, there'll be a few million people getting deported and a few hundred people getting locked up. I guarantee you that. So
yeah, and definitely don't despair now, because for the first time in decades, it looks like we're beginning to win. Things are changing. We're beginning to win. Don't despair now.
That march was the biggest in UK history, apparently. They reckon if there was about 1.3 million or something for the Iraq war protest, and they reckon there was about 2 for that. So I mean, just shows now's not the time to get pissed off, is it?
Exactly.
God's best friend said, being more civilized than you is not saying much. That is definitely true. And I'm supposing this is related to the people on welfare. Too many people love the taste. They do indeed. As I said, that's our lowly origins. People, it's addictive. Sitting on your fat ass and watching TV 12 hours a day is addictive. Whereas going to the gym and getting on the treadmill definitely isn't.
When you pay people to make poor choices, don't be surprised when more people make poor choices.
100%. So we can finish talking about migration, because the Orange Oracle made a very good point about it when he held this joint press conference with the androgynous android there, who looks totally out of his depth. He looks like he's terrified there, doesn't he? He said, migration is destroying Britain from within. He said, President Trump told Sir Keir Starmer that illegal immigration is destroying Britain from within, and advised him to consider using the military to stop small boat crossings. The US president told the PM that he must use any means necessary to stop illegal migration, and said the situation facing Britain bore similarities to the challenge he faced on entering office. And if you don't know the numbers for that, he's deported 300,000 illegal immigrants in less than a year. So my question to you is, I know your answer to, we've already discussed whether you think it's wrecking the country. My question to you is, I've got my own theories. Why haven't they done what I've been advocating for years, which is utilise the military to get them out? You wouldn't even need to spend any additional funds. We've already got the equipment. We've already got the boats. We've already got the drones. Why haven't they used the Royal Marines to put a ring of steel in the UK and actually stop the boat crossings? Why do they keep letting it happen? Even though they've proven that is cancer for the polls for them. If the vast majority of the country want them to stop them, why haven't they?
That's because for the last 3 decades, all our governments of every colour, of every description, have been globalists. And globalists have all signed up to the international order of we have to follow global laws and global rules and global conventions. And because we're following global stuff, we're not allowed to enact the things we want to do. So we could stop the boat migrants in, I reckon, 48 hours. I could stop it in 48 hours if I was in
100%.
charge.
Yeah.
But to do that, they would have to reject the global agenda. And none of our politicians in 30 years have ever wanted to reject the globalist agenda. Because if they reject it for this, the next question is, oh, you rejected the globalist agenda to stop the boats. That means we can now reject it for these things as well. And it means we're going to be a sovereign country again. It means we're going to be independent. And the elite and all the political parties are all going, Jesus, we don't want it to go this far. Hence why they're not going to stop the boats. And just to correct Trump on one thing, it isn't illegal immigration that's destroying the UK. It's immigration. It's illegal and legal. It isn't legal. Illegal migration isn't really damaging us much at all. It's the whole thing. It's all of our immigration is damaging the UK.
Well, I have to disagree with you there. I think it's definitely illegal as well as legal. But
it's both,
I agree with the thrust of it. However, it's definitely worth using the clip, Nick.
But you did not persuade me, Nicholas. You did not persuade me.
Well, let me see if I can. So, on average, we've got 50,000 illegal immigrants a year. We're giving out 1 million visas a year.
Yeah.
You look at the differential there. Immigration as a whole is killing this country. If we had no legal migration and just had illegal migration, it wouldn't be damaging us at all. It's still a problem. It would need dealing with. It's the whole thing that's killing us.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, you are correct about that. The lion's share is legal immigration. We need to get rid of them all, not just the illegal ones. But Shabzi Mahmood, there's videos of her being a full-blown pro-open borders activist in Greece, letting in a load of illegal migrants in like 2015. Oh, God, I said her name in full. I've got a clip for her as well. Shabana Mahmood.
Some of it was fun.
She deserved that. Shabzi deserved a bat. So we're knackered, aren't we? We're definitely knackered until we fully oust the raving lunatics currently inhabiting 10 Downing Street. It's not looking good, is it? Let me just read a bit more of this, though. Hopefully we get some good numbers from Trump, you bear. Trump also made it clear that he opposed Britain's plans to formally recognise a Palestinian state. God bless him. Everything he's done has been bang on, Trump. I never voted for him in 2020. He's been absolutely superb. I don't think he's put a foot wrong me. I think he's really excelled himself. There's nothing I'd hugely criticise him for. He's right on the money there. He said it's one of the few areas of disagreement with the Prime Minister. Bless him, he's being diplomatic there. And the US is expected to respond once the UK has made the announcement. However, Trump went out of his way not to sour the tone. God bless him. Avoiding criticising Starmer over free speech and attempting to diffuse the scandal over Lord Mandelson. Oh no, I've got one for him as well. Lord Mandelson.
How's the wife? Oh, gone. I was living a lie and she knew it, but now I'm able to go out and enjoy some serious cock guilt-free. Yumma, 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 yumma.
That's great for Peter Mandelson, isn't it? Claiming he didn't know the former US ambassador. Of course he didn't. Look at the little pipsqueak there. I hate him. He said Britain and the US has a relationship like no other and hailed a technology partnership signed during the trip, which he said had helped the US and the UK. I think he's doing us a favour, mate. I think Trump's genuinely an Anglophile. I think he's gone above and beyond for us, hasn't he? I almost wish he hadn't, though, because some of this might temporarily prop up Starmer a little bit more. Do you know what I mean?
No, there's nothing that can prop up Starmer now. Starmer's gone. All we're waiting for now is the date he leaves. This Labour government is done. Nothing can save this Labour government. Again, we're just waiting for the date it leaves office. What we need to be looking at now is what comes next. It looks like it's going to be Reform UK. I feel Reform UK are going to let lots of people down. They're going to be much better than Labour. They're going to be much better than the Tories. They are. But they're not going to be what many people want them to be. So we need to start looking at what comes next and how do we hold them to account? Because this government is done. All this government's trying to do now is fight every day to stay in power an extra day. They don't care about anything else apart from staying in power.
Yeah, great point there from James Jameson. Trump loves the UK more than Starmer does. It definitely does. Definitely does. Isn't that ludicrous? A US president likes our nation more than the Prime Minister. It's embarrassing. Trevor Harris said Starmer wants all the fighting age men for a massive khaki fight. I'm sure he does. Well, as long as he's already plugged a few Ukrainians, so we know that's going on. Let's have a bit of a read further down. It says, Trump said to have told reporters on board Air Force One that he asked for Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, not to be invited to any events. Love that. Amazing, amazing. Can't get enough of the Trumpy bear. He said Khan was among the worst mayors in the world and the crime in London was through the roof.
Yeah,
Trump and Khan have had public disagreements going, but again, the man tells no lies, does he?
No.
The leader's joint public appearance came after a carefully choreographed state visit that provided the androgynous android with some respite from 2 weeks of domestic political turmoil when his leadership's being questioned. However, the president's impassioned advice is likely to be seized on by Starmer's critics. Obviously, it's helped Farage's party reform, as you said, taking a significant lead in the polls. I do agree with you about Starmer, about Farage. I think that reform aren't as right-wing as many in the UK would like to see. Like, I can't see reform deporting legal migrants retrospectively, and that's what they do need to do. As you said, to me, I don't even think it's far right. I'm not saying deport every single immigrant to the UK going back decades, but I do think a fair line in the sand. I'm not going to go back as far as Blair, because I like I said, I argue with the far right on this. Even I'm not that far gone. I have a soft spot for the young lads who I went to school with and grew up with. I don't think anyone who's been here 20 years, you can make a good argument to just sling them out unceremoniously. But definitely, the Boris wave seems to be a fair point, because we voted unceremoniously and unanimously and aggressively for far less immigration. And then Johnson, the horrible, fat, slimy, albino, jellyfish, porridge-faced wanker that he is, imported 1 million people in a year. I think it would be a reasonable thing to retroactively go back to 2020 and say everybody who was granted a visa since then is having it revoked. We've got millions too many people in this country. And I think that's a happy medium. It's not extremist. We voted definitely for far less immigration, and we got several million people. I think those several million people can go home. They can go wherever they were when they got the Boris Wave visa, and getting rid of 3 million people, 4 million people, will massively help every single aspect of our economy. It'll clear the council houses, it'll clear the doctors' offices and the NHS wards, it'll even stop the wear and tear on the roads and the sewage system. It'll clear some jobs for the small number of them that actually work for a bloody living. There's numerous ways now where the UK will be helped by throwing a few million people out. And I don't think that's too unreasonable. But what say you, Nicholas? You're much more of a civilised gentleman than me.
I think we need a national discussion on this. I think we need lots of ideas being thrown out there that we can discuss on and maybe vote on and maybe agree on, and have parties coming up with, this is what we're going to do. I agree. But the minimum for me is this. Every illegal immigrant needs deporting. Every foreigner who's committed a crime in the UK needs to go. We've got 10,000 foreign criminals in our jails. At 12% of our jail population shouldn't even be in the country. Deport them. And then we need to start looking at, what do we do with the people who weren't born here? So you're right, some of them we probably need to deport. Others we're not going to be able to deport everybody we even want to deport. We need to tweak the system so many people go home themselves, self-deport. I would like to see something like, if you weren't born in this country, you're never entitled to claim any benefits. If you weren't born in this country, then your tax code is 2 points higher. You'll always pay more tax than anybody else because your ancestors haven't paid into the country. I would like to see it being that people who stay are actually paying their way, and many of them will go home because we're not such a soft touch anymore. We can't deport 10 million people. The logistics, we just can't do it. But if we can get the system so they go home themselves, and we could say to them, you've got a year to leave. If you leave in a year, you keep all your assets, all your money. But a year from now, we're going to start looking at people to deport. And once we highlight you, we're going to confiscate all your resources because that's going to pay for your deportation. You're going to see millions of people leave by their own accord.
Yeah. Well, Trump started doing that already. He's already said, like, here's the benefits of self-deportation. Like, he's doing that aggressively. A lot will send themselves up. And this is an interesting point that we probably align on totally, is that I've said this from the get-go. I'm not far right. I'm right-wing, but I'm not far right. Again, because these scumbag walkies who are far left, they're way more extreme than me. I'm centre right. They're far, 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 far left. So who's the extremist is the first thing I'd say. And secondly, that is a totally solid point, because if you don't listen to the reasonable, I quote Michael Howard all the time. Michael Howard said this 15 years ago. He said, if you don't address the concerns of ordinary people, reasonable people, they will very quickly become unreasonable. And the argument I can always rebuke someone on the far right with at the moment is, you don't need to be an ethno-nationalist. I tell them this, I was like, listen, you're going too far. You can't tell me that it's reasonable to deport someone just because of what they look like. If they're born and raised in England in the 80s, like some of my friends, you can't make that argument. But the thing is, if they don't get a grip of it, more and more and more people will start making that argument. Yeah. I'm saying if we just get rid of every illegal immigrant, every single immigrant, legal or not, that's ever committed a crime, every single immigrant, legal or not, who's been out of work for more than 2 years, every one of them that's been a drain on the state, basically, if we just got rid of them, and that's a reasonable centre-right middle ground, if we just got rid of them, you'd neuter the far right. Because all of a sudden, there'd be 5 million less people in the UK, the crime rate would go through the floor, there'd be loads of council houses for poor English people, there'd be more jobs, there'd be more money. Like, that's how you address this. If they don't address this, and full disclosure, I was a registered Democrat 10 years ago. In fact, I still am because I couldn't be bothered to change it. I've gone from left wing to right wing in 10 years. Full disclosure, if they don't get a grip of it, I guarantee in another 5, I'll be going, right, ethno-nationalist, bin them all, the lot of them. So if they really want to do something sensible, the sensible thing is to meet us halfway and actually do something about it quickly before reasonable people start becoming very unreasonable in short order.
No, I completely agree. And we're beginning to hear those voices already now in the UK. People who have had enough, people who are turning to more extreme measures and extreme views. And I always go back to this. We can't blame people coming here in the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s, and they came here legally. And now we're going to penalise their children for their parents and grandchildren for coming here legally. We don't do that in the UK. We don't do that because we're English. We play by the rules. They followed the rules. We may not have wanted them, but that's not their concern. They followed the rules and got here legally. Now, we may be able to charge them more tax if they weren't born here, but that's a different issue altogether. But if we don't address this issue, we're going to get new leaders coming along with dark hearts, and they're going to want things we never thought was possible. We've got to deal with this issue now with the sensible right-wingers. Otherwise, the unsensible far-right wingers will start being heard.
Yeah, you did convince me, Nicholas. That's a good argument. So you did all right there. I'm not going to discuss this at length. I just want an excuse to use my Angela Rayner clip. Angela Rayner.
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut!
Just because he's ginger, basically.
Have you heard the rumours of Angela Rayner now, this last day or two?
Oh no, please tell me, please.
The new rumours, it's been in the press, new rumours are her and Andy Burnham have done a deal. Andy Burnham is going to try to stand for an MP seat so he can get to Parliament. If he gets to Parliament, he's going to run for leadership with her as Deputy Prime Minister.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I've got a quick response for you there, Angela.
You stupid slag!
Yeah, there you go.
That's a bit harsh, that one.
That's off of RoboCop 3, another classic film. I'm a harsh man, Nicholas. You know this. You know this. Much harsher than you. I'll just do some super chats before I bugger off. Oh, I've got one more. God's best friend said, "It's a shame you didn't ask me about Trump." I don't. If you're going to say bad things about Donald, I think we'll fall out. We'll fall out. God's best friend. I think he's done a sterling job, and I think you're doing a sterling job, Nick. I do enjoy your channel. Let me find a quick link to it before we bugger off, because I feel like if you're not going to do it, I will.
Well, as you're finding a link, let me tell you about the best thing Trump's done recently that I loved while you're finding a link. It was him instructing his forces, his army, navy, whatever, to blow out of the ocean any drug smuggling speedboat. And this week, he's blown up 2 boats, killed the people driving those boats to Florida, blown them out of the water. And I can imagine now the conversations in Caracas, in wherever, and they're going, "Amigos, we need a new pilot for the speedboat," and they're going, "I don't think so, mate. The fuckers are blowing them out the water with satellites. No, we will triple your wages," and they're going, "I don't think so." He stopped drug smuggling by speedboats in a week because no one wants to drive those boats anymore. That's a leader. That's someone making decisions to protect their country and protect their citizens.
That's fantastic. I don't know though. Being a bootneck, naval-based fighting man, I think you were correct the first time. It is sailing a boat, right? You don't drive. Do you drive a speedboat?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's
the last boat I was on had pedals. It was like a pedal on the last boat I was on.
Well, I disagree, so we can get Idi Amin up once more time, Nicholas.
But you did not persuade me, Nicholas. You did not persuade me.
Only about driving a boat. The rest of it, you did convince me. So well done.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope you know. I'm stealing that clip for my channel.
Yeah, do it. You're welcome to it. It's a great film. There's some great lines in that where he's having to go, "Nicolas." He's like, "Nicolas." the whole thing there is because he said to him, he threw out all the Asian shopkeepers. Do you remember that? A lot of them ended up in England.
They did.
Back in the day when we got immigrants who actually worked for a living. Because all them lot actually came and contributed and did some hard day's work.
But don't forget, that was early 70s, I think. Not one of them was welcomed. The British people didn't want them. The British people have been telling their government since Windrush, since 1948, the English British people have been telling their government, "We don't want any more immigrants." And since 1948, they've ignored us and ignored us and ignored us.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely staggering, isn't it? Staggering. The betrayal from the scum that lorded over us. And then, seeing as I've used every other clip, we'll do one more. And the cherry on top, putting the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, the dumbest woman on earth, in charge of the purse strings. Here's Rachel Reeves.
She's a spastic.
Very apt for the incompetent Chancellor, I think.
What film's that from?
Romper Stomper.
Romper Stomper, right.
Yeah. It's great, though, isn't it, StreamYard? I'm getting good at all this stuff. Who else have I got? And then what's her name? Anna Sowbury. I've got her. That's Zelda off the Terrorhawks. She's got that craggy face look about her. Right, Nicholas, thanks for coming on. You made some excellent points there. I think you talked me down off the ledge, Nick. So well done. You earned that NBE, if only for talking the angry bootneck down off the ledge. So well done. Thanks for tuning in. I'll put your link in the description. Please go and follow Nick if you haven't. And I'm going to drink wine with my mother-in-law. All right, have a good weekend. Nicholas, thanks for coming. Have a good weekend, everyone in the stream. I'll see you all on Monday. Toodle pip. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Nick. See ya.